What's
What's
good?
good? What's good? What's good?
Back with another one.
On me. This is Over the Counter Podcast, episode 5. Man,
Just moving
per
along.
usual, a lot is going on. A lot is going on. You got to be paying attention, though. Definitely got to be paying attention because there's a lot going on right now.
I
But
think.
before we get into that, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just saying. I think, man, you got unless you live on the rock, man, you got to know what's going on. It ain't hard. You ain't even got to go looking for it at this point.
Boy, boy, I would expect people to be paying attention to this, but you would be surprised at how much people don't pay attention to this. So, I mean, that's what we here for. So, you know, anywho, with that being said, let's get into today's content, man. We got, like I said, man, a lot going on, man. We got trade wars happening. Market is swinging left and right. Don't know what's going on. We got more executive orders. And we talking about David Sachs. He's ready to make a speech supposedly tomorrow on crypto and AI directives, how we are going to approach the technology. So that's definitely going to be interesting. But yeah, man, starting with these trade wars, because that's top of mind. I mean, that's been the loudest thing happening right now. We got Trump standing on business about these tariffs. He not
Is
playing about
he?
these tariffs.
Is he?
I mean, he's
Because
standing on he's standing on business enough to make people be like, oh, whoa, 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 we was just playing. We was just playing. Nah, we good. We good over here. We good over here. Yeah, yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. Exactly. So Trump is definitely standing on business, in my opinion. I may not agree with, his antics around it, but when it come to getting stuff done and people getting people in line from a business perspective, he A1 in my book.
I mean, this is something we was talking about last year in regards to this trade war. We've
Yeah.
seen it coming. It's something he did in his first term with China. He talked about last year in regards to unfair treatment from China, Mexico, and Canada. He had these talks before he became president. Everybody was coming out to Mar-a-Lago. And like I said before in the video I did, it's really crazy because at first, China's president, not China, Mexico's president, she was kind of, hitting back at Trump. And she was kind
On
of
it, yeah.
stand on business like, nah, we ain't going for that. But then come to find out, when push really got the shove, she was the first one to cooperate. And Justin Trudeau found a newfound spine, and
On me.
he was like, "Nah, we got some tariffs for
We
y'all
gonna
too."
hit you. Yeah, we gonna hit you back. Yeah, nah. I was proud of Justin for at least
Yeah.
trying.
I was
Good
surprised. I was
job,
surprised.
Justin. Good job, Justin.
I
At
was
least
surprised.
you can't go outside twice.
But
You can't go outside
why
twice.
step down if you were just gonna stand on business?
But see, that's another thing. Like, I really don't fully understand Canadian politics for me to like really fully understand why Justin is who we talking to. But hey, it is what it is. Like and clearly the tariffs they were supposed to start today, but they didn't. There was some negotiating going on. So
Well,
there's
what's
a
that,
30
Monday?
day. You said what?
They're supposed to start tomorrow, so they got it done right.
Yeah, 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 tomorrow. So it's in the nick of time.
Mm-hmm.
So, they got a 30-day delay, just enough time they feel like maybe to get some negotiating going on. But in the meantime, both countries, Mexico and Canada, have agreed to some terms to that they need to adhere to even during these 30 days. So in terms of Canada, Canada will be stationing 10,000 troops along its northern border, help strengthening the security of the border up there. The Canadian government has also pledged $1.3 billion to help bolster border security and infrastructure. They're going to be helping with cracking down on fentanyl trafficking, drug trafficking in general. So they'll be appointing a fentanyl czar. I don't know. This is just a popular term all of a sudden because I ain't never heard of SARS until this administration with Donald Trump. But it is what it is. And then they'll be designating certain cartel terrorist group as terrorist groups. So Canada will be backing Trump in that line of thought. Which, I mean, if you really want to crack down on drugs, I guess that's how you do it. If you really want to crack down on weapon trafficking and stuff like that, that's how you do it. And then Canada will also be supporting the United States in a joint task force, which will be targeting organized crime, fentanyl trafficking, and money laundering operations. So for Justin to have tried to clap back, he sure did agree to a lot in between these 30 days before, tariff negotiations even start. So,
I
I
mean,
mean, what
I
is
feel like,
this?
I feel like he didn't have a choice. I know when you think about it, Canada, their economy is already not doing the greatest.
Hmm.
And when you're talking about tariffs, there really is no winners, regardless. It was gonna fall back on us. It was gonna fall back
Right.
on the citizens of Mexico. And I think when you're talking about these tariffs, the only positive I see out of it, in which we talked about, is we figured it was gonna be it's a bargaining chip. I don't believe that Trump wants to be in a trade war either because he's so big on the stock market. He's big on our companies flourishing and generating revenue and keeping the American economy strong. And initiating three different trade wars at the same time is not doing that. It's doing the
I
opposite.
mean, it's not doing that, but it's definitely a hell of a bargaining chip as we're
It is.
seeing right
It worked.
now.
It worked.
But I'm not really against the idea of, encouraging American-based products, manufacturing in America. I wouldn't be against that. And maybe if a tariff trade war is what kind of sets that off to kind of encourage that, then so be it. But like if it turns out to be just a bargaining chip, which still ends up setting off more American manufacturing, I'd be cool with that.
But if we're really thinking about it from an American manufacturing standpoint, I don't know that if you're talking about reducing the spend and trying to reduce the deficit, and you got Doge and all of these things like this, do you realize how much money it would take to even put up the manufacturing facilities to even be able to manufacture over here now? You know how much money that would take and how long it would
Absolutely.
take. So you're talking,
Absolutely.
and not only that, once you did make the investment to get that up, the amount of work, the amount of overhead we're going to have to pay for the employees is not. We're not going to be able to compete with overseas labor costs. We just not. So I don't really
Yeah.
see. It sounds good in theory to bring manufacturing back to the United States. I just don't see it happening, especially when these companies have gotten used to making a certain type of revenue, have gotten used to certain type of margins, have gotten their companies to become more efficient. They're strengthening the way they do business and how they're going about things. You have H-1B visas. They're trying to bring the cheaper work per se over here. I don't really see them. I don't really see these companies being willing to pay the cost that it's going to pay to bring manufacturing back to the United States. I think it would be a very, 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 very massive investment to be able to do that. And what are the implications of that?
I mean, all that may be true, but the United States is still the United States because the minute we announced tariffs, Canadian companies was willing to start bringing manufacturing and business headquartering over in the United States just to circumvent the tariffs. You had several companies willing to say, "Well, shit, in order to circumvent these tariffs, we gotta build some type of base in the United States so we don't get hit with these tariffs as much." So, and that was just based off of like the pure hint or threat of a tariff. So we don't necessarily know what other companies would be willing to do if, if we just use that as a sign that the companies don't care, wouldn't even care about the cost of manufacturing in America. They care more about having access to the market space.
You may be talking, but when you say that, you're referring to companies overseas coming over here. What about our companies like an Apple, like an Nvidia, like a Tesla? All of these companies that a massive portion of their market share, a massive portion of their revenues, a massive portion of their supply chains comes from outside of the United States. You
Yep,
can't,
that
you
is
can't,
true.
we can't just magically. You know how long it would take. We don't. if it really just got that bad where everybody was like, "No, we cutting everything off," everybody just 100% tariff, 100% tariff, that would be catastrophic for it. As much as Trump wants to say, "Oh, we don't need this and that," we do.
Yeah, to some degree, I definitely agree with that. But I mean, at the same time, clearly, the negative implications of what truly enforcing tariffs would mean have been considered. So, I mean, I would think that in one way or another, it would work out in favor of the United States if we're the ones that is trying to implement tariffs. Now, is it just a bargaining chip for now? That's what it looks like. But I mean, only time will tell because if we're trying to build this ERS external revenue service and start really collecting revenues from foreign countries versus taxing the United States citizens as much as we have been, then it's kind of necessary. These tariffs are kind of necessary.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, then he needs to change his approach then, because if you want to just initiate tariffs just for the sole purpose of bringing capital into the United States, reducing taxes as he's talked about, and kind of creating a system where, hey, we're not going to overly tax our citizens, we're going to tax these other countries and use that money to fund the things that we want to fund. If you're going to do that, then we can't have the premise being, because as of right now, when we're talking about the trade war and these tariffs levied against China's a whole nother monster. But when we're talking about Mexico and Canada,
Hmm.
this whole premise has been about border security, fentanyl, weapons trafficking, all of that kind of stuff. So
Right.
is it about that, or even if so, if so, are you telling me that even if they fix these issues and they bend the knee and meet your demands, are you still willing to levy tariffs on them just for the sake of bringing money into the United States, regardless of what they do?
I mean, I probably would. They just wouldn't be as high tariffs as they would be otherwise. Because think about this: you're only charging tariffs on goods that are trying to enter the United States. So essentially, China's exports, any country's exports to the United States, you would be charging a tariff. Now, obviously, with your example of Apple having large market share in China, like if they were trying to ship iPhones from the United States to China to get exposure or sell into that market, then China could implement a tariff as well on those types of products. But how much hurtful would it be to you, China, implementing a tariff like that on me, the United States, who can eat that? You ultimately want my product. Trump is saying we can live without some of y'all's products.
But the thing with some of these supply chains, especially when you're talking about tech, the main piece to the supply chain doesn't run through the United States. These chips, a lot of the tech that goes into these phones, it's not coming from the United States. So
Right.
somebody, okay, I'll get Canada. We may not need their natural resources. We may not necessarily need to get their lumber. We may not necessarily need their car parts or this or that, whatever he was saying.
The
But
steel, that type of stuff.
when it comes to Mexico and China, I don't think you can say the same thing. We get a
No, not to the same
lot.
degree of saying we don't need you at all. I think Canada is the exception on that one.
Yeah, Mexico
But
and China, I don't know about that.
right, right. Now you may only have a certain threshold that you can, use those tariffs when it comes to Mexico and China. But some place like Canada, where you can just say, nah, like, okay, we
And
don't
then
need you.
what about the loopholes? Because China has had certain tariffs levied against them, trade wars, certain restrictions, even in regard
Sanctions,
even in regards to the chips we were talking about, and yet they've always been able to find a loophole. They've been able to send things through Mexico and get it manufactured over there and have it brought into United States as
United
Mexican
States.
made. They've
Right.
found a way. We've put restrictions on them. Oh, you can't get these chips. You can't get these chips. And we found those very chips in their technology. So it's like,
I
are
mean,
the tariffs really going to help, or is it just going to raise the cost of goods and services for us? And meanwhile, China's still going to find a way to get what they want.
right. And I think that was part of the criticism that Biden got. Why are you putting sanctions on Russia and China, but you're not going after their trade partners, which happen to be ours, but
Yeah, it's fun.
you're not being strict and straightforward with that. That's why the Panama Canal is important. That's why the Gulf of Mexico is important. That's why hitting Mexico as well with the tariffs is important. Yeah, Mexico, we got some issues with gun trafficking, fentanyl trafficking, your cartels, this, that, and the third. Absolutely. But I do know my real enemy behind you uses you.
China.
Right, right. Uses you to get your stuff over in my land anyway. So of course I'm gonna hit the middleman because if I hit the middleman, it makes it even harder for my main enemy to get to me.
I think I,
Mexico's like the middleman.
I think we've just gotten to the point now where like I said, Mexico. Really, I wouldn't even put Canada in this because Canada's in this, but really it's China, us, and Mexico.
Right.
We are so intertwined and interdependent on each other when it comes to trade that I think it would be a lot of pain, a lot of mad customers from all three spots. You might even have some companies go under as a result if things really got heated up in regards to this trade war. Not between China and Mexico, because I think they would team up against us, and that's another thing we have to worry about, because we already heard rumblings about, we already have that going on with BRICS, and then I heard things about other smaller countries banding together to try to start coming up with a way that, hey, if Trump gets too out of hand, if he gets too out of hand with these tariffs and this and that, what's a way that we can come together and punch back at the United States as a collective? That's also something that we got to worry about is, okay, if we're putting China, Mexico, and Canada on the outs, and we're saying, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we don't need this one, we don't need that one. But if they all team up, now it gets a little more tricky.
I mean, if we have control of the Panama Canal, which over 70% of exports shipments goes through, I don't think we have much to worry about.
But
I really don't think they want to press that problem. If we have the Panama Canal and the Gulf of Mexico,
I
they don't
mean,
want that issue.
technically, right now we don't have it.
No, but Trump has openly said he would not. I won't say openly, but he is not ruling out the potential to use military force for those two things.
What are the
I
implications
I
of
I
that?
don't. I mean, it could be some major implications. I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just simply saying, like, this is where this man's mindset is at.
And I always, when we talk about these things, I always got to play devil's advocate and get to thinking
Of course.
worst case scenario, because you got to think, bro. It's one thing. Canada's one thing. Mexico's one thing. China is not just bet to let us do whatever without retaliation.
Yeah, and
And
I'm
vice
never
versa.
in.
And vice versa.
Right, and I'm never insinuating that. I'm just simply
Yeah.
saying the Trump is a night and day difference from Biden.
Yeah. He
Like
demands
he's not
he demands
passive
respect.
at
He's
all.
getting it. No,
Yeah,
not
he
at
just
all.
getting to it. He getting to it, and he said something today that really confirmed that for me. And it was when people were asking him, about potential higher prices for goods and services and things of that nature because of the tariffs. And he said, "Yeah, a little temporary pain for a long-term gain. I think we're all good for that."
Yeah, but as an
Bro,
American
he's
citizen,
cutthroat.
I'm not trying to hear that from you, man. I'm not trying to hear that from no billionaire.
Hey, hey,
But
he may not be tripping because he know the revenue for them tariffs is gonna make up for the amount of taxes he ain't gonna be taking.
okay, but this is another question, playing devil's advocate again. Our government has not been, you know, they don't have a clean slate when it comes to
At all.
utilizing these funds in the appropriate manner. So how can we even ensure, okay, you levy these tariffs, we start generating billions of dollars in tariffs. How can we even ensure that it's going to be spent how it should be spent and serve its purpose, like you said, in order to be able to reduce taxes on us, be able to reduce interest and all these things you're trying to do?
Yeah. I
Y'all, you
mean,
guys
hey,
gotta prove that you're
that,
fiscally responsible.
that's what your boy Elon is supposed to prevent.
I don't trust that.
Waste.
I don't trust that.
He's supposed to be preventing waste. That's what your boy said he was gonna be
Are you
doing.
lying? He did it. He was talking on Twitter Spaces last night,
Yeah,
and apparently he's getting access or has access to pretty much the Treasury spending now, or
yeah.
something like that.
He
But
got access to it yesterday.
my thing is this with Elon. He's already claiming that he's already saved the United States billions of dollars a day. You mind that?
Unrealized, maybe. Realized, no.
Do you think he has is what they're trying to achieve with government spending and all of that government efficiency, reducing spending? Is this possible, like fully possible on a massive scale without bipartisan support? Is this something he can do by himself, or with just the support of him, Trump, a few allies, or does he need, or do they need bipartisan support in order to really be able to do this?
I mean, if we being honest with you, you need bipartisan support to get much of anything done.
Does he have that?
Not on this
He's making
USA
a lot of
part.
enemies this way.
He has, but at the same time, they clearly don't have enough teeth to do anything about it.
Nah.
Otherwise, they would have been did something about it. But that I think that's the ugly part of politics. Why do we need to go back and forth about this, that, and the third when the ultimate goal should be does this or does this not help the American citizen?
This
We
ne-
talking about
it's never been about that though.
right, that's what I'm saying. What I mean, because what we decide to talk about within politics very much so shows that,
Mhm.
right? Like we're not talking about what's good for the American citizen. We're talking about we don't like Elon and he might be doing too much here and this, that, and the third, and Trump might be doing too much here, this, that, and the third. We got to stop him from doing this, even though ultimately it could be good for the American citizen. It's just the simple fact that we don't like that Elon or Trump is doing it.
Yeah, I never really look at it from that lens because I always want to get the message and not really pay too much attention to the messenger.
Right.
And
Because why does that matter?
yeah, I mean, and if for anybody who's listening, because I had to talk to somebody the other day, and we were talking about tariffs, and it gets to a point to where you may be listening right now and think, oh, we're talking, this is a politics conversation, but it's not. It's deeper than that. These tariffs will directly affect, as much as you don't think, you may think you're insulated. If this trade war really goes how it was just about to go, if these pauses wouldn't have happened, every single American will feel it in their bank account.
Almost instantly.
So when we're talking about this, we're not, because trust me, we're not here to talk about if we think it's right, if we think it's the right, it's happening. So we have to look at it from the lens of investors, from the lens of knowing how to maneuver and navigate during these times, because it's a lot going on. And at the end of the day, it's all about money and power.
Unfortunately. Unfortunately. But 1000% accurate. Um, but man, like obviously a lot is going on with the trade wars. It's a lot that we still gonna have to pay attention to as that develops.
Yeah.
I'll be interested in seeing how the 30-day thing upholds, especially with Mexico also agreeing to deploy 10,000 National Guard troops to help secure the border, and then the whole weapons trafficking thing. I mean, we just gonna have to see. Because if Trump's real serious about these tariffs and they don't come to no negotiations by whenever these 30 days is up, it's gonna get thick. It's about to
Well,
get thick out there.
and that's another question that I pose to you. If it's just about border protection, drug trafficking, weapons trafficking, if it's just about that, with what they're saying, the talks that they've had, what we're hearing, 10,000 troops, this, and that, have they not met those demands? Why is it just a 30-day pause? What else are you asking for?
Yeah, I mean, and maybe that is indeed the case, but I don't think that's the end of Trump's crusade. I mean, you still have the whole question about the Gulf of Mexico and Panama Canal. I mean,
Yeah,
and he
mainly.
really, and he real serious about that because mainly because China uses it, and we be getting treated unfairly, and apparently they violated the treaty that even gave the country of Panama the canal in the first place. So Trump seemed to be trying to make moves to ensure the security of the United States, and one way or another, definitely bring things back into balance. Because, I mean, if I'm being honest with you, the world went buck wild crazy these last 4 years. This whole Ukraine and Russia thing, China got involved. You had several other countries kind of had a little spat. You had countries, throughout a couple winters not have any heat, no energy. Energy was stifled. All types of stuff just was not going how it should be going. So this is just the first couple of weeks. We ain't even in the first month. So we just
That's what's
have to,
crazy, bro.
man, it's so
It feel
much
like 4 years worth of stuff is just hitting us at
all at once. So the fact that he this active, like, to me, is a good thing because, well, again, we may not necessarily agree with the way in which he goes about it, but if the end result ultimately gets things back in order, in a calmer place where we can focus on what we need to focus on and what's more important, I'm good for that. I'm good for that. But clearly, even though these trade wars are not necessarily popping off, the market reacted
yeah, for sure.
very violently to the
And what's
downside.
crazy is I think it hurt y'all market over there in crypto harder than it did stocks. That's what's crazy to me.
Bro, and what's even crazier to me is how nothing okay, like, my one of my first mentor trading, he always told me that he looks at things in reverse. He looks at the chart first and he can tell you the news. Versus a lot of people, they say, look at the news, I can show you the chart. So I find it very funny that we were looking to be making topping structures anyway, especially with Bitcoin, even though we've recovered. Um, it was very ironic to me that the market looked like it wanted to drop anyway because it wasn't making any higher highs.
Didn't
So
it hit a new all? Didn't Bitcoin hit a new all time high like 111 right, but like a day or two before it dropped?
I don't recall it ever hitting 111.
Maybe it wasn't 111. Maybe I'm tweaking. It had hit something high like 109, 108, something before it went.
109, 108. Yeah, something like that. Because we was like 108, almost even the first all-time high a couple weeks ago. And then it retouched that maybe by maybe more than a couple $100 or something like that. Maybe even 1,000. I don't know. But it was very telling to me that the charts was already calling it. Bro, I had positions on every asset I wanted to short.
Yeah, I made some
Like,
money. I
I
made
was
some
running
money
some
on Bitcoin.
positions for
I
two
made some money
days,
from Bitcoin for
three
sure.
days, like, before the drop even happened. And so obviously, we hit on a couple trades, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? We hit on a couple trades. But yeah, the crypto market, bro, it's so violent. And this is why I be telling people, if you're gonna be in crypto, especially, boy, you gotta have some conviction.
Hey, XRP got hit hard.
Hard,
What they dropped to?
hard.
They dropped to like 170 something, 190.
One seven, 180 something, actually. 180. I was like, oh
I
yeah.
was shocked, bro.
Oh
I didn't
yeah.
think I would see it back under $2.
Oh yeah. I had to press buy real quick.
That was
Had to.
beast.
Had to. Just in case. Just in case. But yeah, definitely hit the crypto market. But I mean, it's nothing new. That's nothing new. If you look at the market cycle for crypto over the last couple of cycles, we've seen a moment like this before. So I'm not too shocked, especially being that this is probably my third bull run, if you
Mhm.
want to call it that. So I'm not too shocked. Definitely not too shocked when it recovered. So, like, I definitely, when we get off this call, I want to show you how you compete where an asset is going to stop, based off of the strategy we use looking at the charts. Because when it hit $94,000, Bitcoin did, I took my profit. I took profit on that trade.
I honestly took profit. I feel like a little too early, but I'd rather get out early than
Bro, look at the 89. if it retraces to the 89, that's probably going to be the point where it reverses. So the 89 is always a good point of taking profit. So I took profit on the 89 because that was around $94,000. I rode it from like 108,000 down to 94. So I'm good with that profit. That's a hell of a trade. That
Yeah.
is one hell of a trade. But we've recovered. So we've essentially made up all of our losses, and that's why you got to have a good conviction in crypto, in investing in general, but especially in crypto, because the common person see a drop like that, they selling everything.
Man, we didn't told y'all before about locking in them losses.
It's only a loss until you withdraw, till you sell. You
Because
have not realized the loss.
this is another thing I don't understand about the mindset of some people, because if you just had strong conviction and you believed in a company, and I would hope you did your research. If you believed in this company and their CEO and their moat and their business models, you looked at their financials, you thought they were good, you looked at their guidance, you rocking with it. If you believed in this company 48, 72 hours ago, some news come out and now all of a sudden the company ain't worth nothing no more.
Right. In a
I don't,
blink of an
I don't
eye.
understand. I don't be understand when people like you just flip the switch like that. You selling everything at a loss.
Bro, people were blowing my phone up talking about what happened, what's going on, should I sell? I'm like, bro, I didn't even answer, bro. I didn't even answer because it's just why invest? Why invest? Like, if you're going to invest, one, never invest more than what you're willing to lose. Two, never be emotionally tied to your money. Three, have them high convictions. If you got high convictions, that means you did your research. If you did your research, you'll have high convictions. You'll know when to sell. And why sell at a loss? That's what I don't understand.
Especially if you're, and this is why we talk about, I know for sure I'll talk about on my pages in regards to crypto. I'm telling you about, I'm telling you about VIX. I'm telling you about Fear and Greed Index. I'm telling you, look at the fundamentals, look at the financials, follow the news, look at this, look at that. Even with the DeepSeek situation with last week, granted, Nvidia is down bad right now. It's down a lot. But this is where you also have to get context. DeepSeek came out, Nvidia dropped. And then in the same week, you have CEOs like Mark Zuckerberg and Meta announcing 60 to $65 billion in capex spend in 2025. And part of that is going to be a lot of freaking Nvidia chips.
Right.
These companies are not done with Nvidia. They still need Nvidia. Nvidia's chips are very much still in demand. Their data center business is still booming. Project Stargate is still a thing. They're still building those plants. They're still building out that infrastructure. And then only that, nobody bothered to go look up the technical data for DeepSeek and see that they left out. Now that we're finding out potentially billions of dollars of money that it cost to build that open source large language model that they left out. They didn't mention any of the costs associated with research and development, years of research and development, algorithms, any of that data. They didn't mention any of that in the cost. You think they just built this open source large language model and all they mentioned were GPU training hours?
Right.
Come on, man. So
That's not that's barely scratching the surface on how much that stuff costs or what all goes into getting that stuff done.
that
So
lets me know when you talk about doing your research and strong convictions. That lets me know if you sold some of these stocks because of DeepSeek, you didn't do your research.
right, right. Like, I literally did a video earlier this week about institutional DeFi and how like big money players are already in the crypto space experimenting on ways to bring more sophisticated financial products into the world of decentralized finance. And then something like this happens. And it's like, if you are positioned in the right assets that are looking to aim at bringing in a major player like institutions to operate on their chain, why do you sell on the news of a trade war when really that ain't what first of all, what does that got to do with crypto anyway? That's
I
what I
think
don't understand.
I think people get caught up in. For one, I think a lot of people be forced to sell some of these assets because y'all buying at crazy prices to begin with.
Yeah. And
You're
be
buying.
getting liquidated at the
I
top.
talked to somebody
Like
the other
that's
day.
crazy.
They bought XRP at $3, and then yeah, I mean I can see why you're selling. You're down bad the minute it starts going down because you're buying at the top.
Right. Right. But you hustling backwards if that's the case. Because bro, like the market is gonna do what the market does. It's very fickle. And it when you get used to investing, when you get more experience in investing, then you get used to these types of moments and they don't really scare you anymore. And then you'll know, like I said, when to actually take profit or whatever your exit plan may be to utilize the capital there. But yeah, man, it's all about having high conviction. Not, bro, just quit panic selling. Quit looking at quit panic selling. That's all I gotta say. Quit panic selling. Because now those same assets that you sold recovered all of that. Thank you. Thank you. I'll take that. I took it.
Hey,
Bought assets on discount. Thank you.
a lot of y'all need to realize that if you would just buy good companies at good prices and hold for the long term, a lot of this is short term noise. A lot of it doesn't matter.
Right.
A lot of it's not gonna. But just a couple of weeks ago, people were talking about, it's Palantir overvalued. Before these earnings came out, it's Palantir overvalued. We know they have the government contract sector unlocked. Do they really have the commercial sector unlocked? Are they getting the commercial contracts? There's a lot of questions. A lot of people were talking about Palantir is overvalued. People were selling. I've seen so many people on X. I sold. Earnings come out. We find out that just in the last quarter alone, they did, I think it was like 129 contracts in one quarter. Upward, like 100 and some of them were worth $1 million. Another like 30 something was worth, like 56 something was worth $5 million contracts, and another 30 something was all $10 million contracts. They're killing it. And then they're announcing
Right.
ridiculous numbers in their guidance. So this is what I'll talk about. A lot of y'all be selling based off of what other people are saying, what the sentiment is. Y'all listening to Jim Cramer. Y'all, bro,
Hey,
do
hey,
your own research.
I told you about Kramer, bro. Do the opposite. Do the opposite of
But
Kramer, bro.
he did say Palantir was gonna go to 100.
He did say that. He did say that. But he also, anytime he be telling you to buy, get ready for that price to dip. Anytime he tell you to sell or something's not a good investment, bro, I guarantee you a couple days, couple weeks later, it's gonna skyrocket. Guarantee it happens every single time, bro. Every single time.
Yeah, man.
So
Just make sure y'all doing y'all research, man, and make sure y'all tapping in, and make sure y'all listening to these earnings, listening to the Q&As, looking at the calls, looking at the numbers, learning how to break down these things, because a lot of y'all will save yourself a lot of heartache, a lot of pain if you did your research, if you invested in good companies, if you held for the long term, if you did not get swayed by every piece of negative news that came out. Hey, the
right.
stock market is not going to go up 100% of the time. Granted, does it go up more than it goes down? Yes. Are you going to have to take some hits? Yes.
It's part of the game.
Comes with it. You're not going to be able to avoid that.
Part of the game. But speaking of Palantir, they had good earnings.
Great earnings.
Did you want to get into that earnings call and some other companies that had earnings this week?
I'll get into it real quick. I won't go deep in depth, but I got 2 videos on my YouTube channel if y'all want to see in depth, or the Palantir one is coming out in the morning. But just a quick little rundown. We had a lot of great earnings last week, and we have Palantir today. I believe we have AMD, which is one that is highly, highly, highly anticipated by the market, because that is a company that has not performed well over. Really, tomorrow is big in general because we have Alphabet and AMD, and those
Mm,
are Alphabet. They're dealing with their case, And then
Yep.
AMD has not performed well over the last year, but a lot of people still have strong conviction and believe in Lisa Su. And especially when it comes to AI inferencing, they're one of the best in the business. So we have those coming up, but we did have Palantir today. I'll start with kind of what we had last week. We had Tesla. What's crazy is Tesla had a lot of misses. Their revenue missed 25.7 billion, missed the estimate of 27.2 billion. Their adjusted earnings per share came in under at 73 cents per share. Operating income came under at 158 billion. Gross margin came under at 16.3%. Cash flow came in good at 2.3 billion. Tesla, they have a lot of good things going on. They've talked about Optimus and Elon Musk believing Optimus will one day be Optimus alone will be the worth of Tesla as an entire company. He's talking about the robo taxi being deployed out in, I believe, Austin, Texas in June. So that's coming. We've seen the brand new Model Y Juniper. That's coming. They have a lot of good catalysts. Their cost of goods sold is the lowest it's ever been. So they're getting more efficient with the way that they're building cars. And I think when it comes to Tesla, the market is starting to realize that they're more than just a car company. They are indeed a tech company. And not only that, Elon Musk is a rock star. He had probably some of the worst numbers as far as missing estimates, and yet the stock rallied. Like he had one of the best earnings out there. So Tesla is just one of the ones, man. You can't bet against Elon. Do you have Microsoft?
Especially these next 4 years, he might be
Yeah,
bulletproof.
yeah. Then you have Microsoft. They beat revenue 69.6 billion. They beat earnings per share $3.23. So that was great. Their cloud business is not doing so well. They had misses in commercial cloud and intelligent cloud revenue, and their capital expenditures was kind of on par with estimates. Microsoft, they didn't really have anything exciting coming out of earnings. So, and it was okay. Then you had Meta, which Meta did phenomenal. They did phenomenal, but it was wild because Meta actually reported their earnings late. They were late. Everybody's earnings was coming out. Everybody was waiting. Man, what's going on? Meta, what's going on? And I think somebody was trying to put smut on their name because right before earnings, the $25 million settlement to Trump, that came out before the earnings. So that came out, and then came out minutes after that. But they did amazing, man. They beat revenue estimates, 48.4 billion. Earnings per share was beat $8.02 per share, beating an estimate. The street had them at $6.75. So that's crazy. Advertising revenue up 46.8 billion. And they also said that through their family of apps, they have WhatsApp, Facebook, Snapchat, all the different apps. Every single day at any given time, there's 3.35 billion users amongst their family of apps every single day. So that lets you know Meta got the social media, they got it on lock. And their reality operating loss of 4.97 billion. They also announced, like I said, that 60 to 65 billion dollars in capex spending, which I think is going to be essential. They plan on doing a lot of things with their open source large language model Llama, which I'm rooting for, not DeepSeek. I don't understand why people are wanting to download that and start putting their company's private data into these Chinese large language models. You've already had organizations like NASA banning it. We already have an open source large language model that I think is going to outpace DeepSeek. Meta ain't playing. They're already talking about they have a lot of things planned with their open source large language model Llama. They have a lot of things planned as far as their bid going into AI. They're putting a lot of money into capex, and he plans on being a force in the AI space in the next couple of years. And I think Mark Zuckerberg is one of them CEOs you can't count out. You can't count him out. He's doing the right things. And
Bro, and that fiber underwater fiber network is going to help with that too. Like people sleeping on how big infrastructure matters. Like you can, man, some of the greatest apps in the world, some of the greatest products in the world wouldn't exist if it wasn't for good infrastructure. If you don't have good infrastructure, you ain't got
that's
nothing.
What a lot of people miss. Yes, did China make this open source large language model? Was it fantastic? Yes. Did they lie about how much it costs to create it? Yes. Did they steal some of our data outputs? Yes. Are they being forthcoming with everything that it took them to build that? No. That's why I'd rather put my support and my money behind Llama and behind Mark Zuckerberg and Meta, and I see all of the money he's putting into infrastructure. And one thing you have to remember is there's going to be a lot of large language models, open source and closed. And I think it's more so about the infrastructure that you build out on top of those large language models. So I'm not putting too much stock in DeepSeek, but Meta is going to be another big one. Another one we had was Intel. Crazily enough, they beat all of the estimates. Revenue 14.26 billion, adjusted earnings per share 13 cents, adjusted gross margin 42.1%, operating income 1.37 billion, product revenue 13.3 billion. But I think Intel, they've just gotten too far behind in the race. AMD has taken their market share. Intel is a shell of itself. They lost they lose their CEO.
Yeah.
They're not, I think they're too far behind. I don't think it's no coming back for them. So, and they didn't really have anything exciting coming out of their earnings or guidance either. So that was that. And then you, of course, you had Apple, who, like I said, a lot of people are questioning Tim Cook. A lot of people still want Tim Cook to step down. They think that Apple's not innovating. They think that Apple, has kind of sat on their hands for like
Coasted.
a couple years.
Yeah.
But
They definitely coasted.
in all, this last quarter, Q1, they reported the best net sales they've ever had as a company at 124.3 billion. Earnings per share came in beat $2.40. iPhone net sales is of course down 69.1 billion, which we figured that a lot of people are not happy with the innovation. These phones are coming out looking exactly the same.
Same phone.
But they are supposedly having some iPhone come out that I'm excited about this year. They're supposed to be super thin, a foldable iPhone, new iPads, all that kind of stuff. A lot of people don't really.
We don't see. They mad late to that game though.
Yeah,
they mad late to that game.
But peep this. This is my argument for Apple. When it comes to the masses, and when it comes to technology, when it comes to who do the masses trust when we're talking about technology? Who almost everybody I know, they have a complete set ecosystem full of Apple products. I got about like 7-8 Apple products sitting right here in front of me.
Right.
So when you're talking about, we already have all of their products. Everything we pretty much use is a part of their ecosystem. And then when it comes to trust with our data, who's one of the biggest companies in regards to that? I think it's Apple. So when you're talking about deploying AI to the masses, I think it would only make sense that Apple would play a big role in that. So I still believe in Apple. Of course, their market share over there in China is down. That and the iPhone sales were the only things that were really down. But we'll see. We'll see if they're able to innovate and turn things around.
That's the main thing with Apple is innovate. That was the beautiful thing about Steve Jobs is he would innovate. And if it didn't work out, fine. Let's try it again. Let's try something else. But with Tim Cook, man, it feels like they've just been in this autopilot mode, like not really willing to take risks. Like, it's a crying shame when, Samsung or somebody does something first. And then, we all know the joke of, Apple is gonna wait couple years, couple cycles before they start trying to bite and implement it too. Like, bro, Apple, be the first one to jump off the porch for once.
What
God
they're
damn,
saying,
bro.
what they're saying is them phones out there in China is cooking the iPhone.
Bro, they are. They are. Some of the stuff that MKBHD be doing like reviews and stuff over. It's like, man, where is Apple?
Yeah.
Where is Apple? And why can Samsung take a clear picture of the moon, but I can't do it on my iPhone?
Apple is one of them things where it's like, do you really need to innovate when we got the best dope in town? When people are, it don't matter if it's stepped on or not. It don't matter how many times we chop it up. They're coming. The fiends new. Every single year, we throw a new camera on that thing, make the bezels a little slimmer, and y'all coming. No
hey,
deal.
all I'm gonna say is Blockbuster said the same thing.
I'm rocking with you, but I just feel like at this point,
where Blockbuster at right now?
Hey, but are you because you're just as big in the Apple ecosystem as I am.
Yeah.
Are you in a rush to get rid of all of your Apple products anytime soon and go to somewhere else?
No.
Okay, so you like the baby mama who your man's cheating, but you're not
Whoa.
going nowhere.
Whoa.
You're not going nowhere. You're not going
Whoa.
nowhere. You can cry, you
Whoa.
can complain, you're not going anywhere. You come
Look, fam.
on, come
If
on.
if Samsung had a better ecosystem than Apple, because that's what keeps people is the ecosystem. It's not the
And,
products
and ease of
themselves.
use and ease of use.
Right. It's the ease of use and the overall continuity of the ecosystem, right? My iMac talks to my Apple TV.
Mhm.
My Apple TV connects to my phone. My phone connects to my iPad. My iPad connects to my MacBook. My MacBook, it all works together,
Love
right? It lovely. I
it. Mhm.
love that part. But I would be remiss to say, if I didn't say, that it's crazy how I'm spending the same amount of money on these Apple products or an Apple iPhone or those Vision Pros or something, and I'm getting less than what I would have if I were to spend that same money on a Samsung or one of them other Asian companies that's making crazy killer phones. They can flip and projector on the screen on the wall and all these things. Like, come on, man. And how much is that?
I mean,
500?
I,
How much is this Apple iPhone? 1,000?
I
That's
think
crazy.
it's just one of them things where, man, it's like they may have the stance, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, people complain about the innovation, but has it stopped them from coming out every quarter, every year, buying our products? I mean, and we can kind of see are the iPhone sales slipping? Yes. Is their market share dwindling over there in China? Yes. But I mean,
But that's the number one sign.
in the same token, that happened, and then you recorded your biggest net sales ever.
From what demographic? It can't be the United States. You just said the market share is slipping in China.
Mhm.
Them is your two biggest markets. So who carried? What market carried? That's what I want to know.
Well, I
Because
would.
this is my thing. Clearly, if your market share, bro, companies that big will trip about 2% market share, 5% market. They'll trip about small percentages like that. So the lack of innovation has to be hitting Apple hard enough in the pockets to where they have to be thinking of something. Because I brought up Blockbuster. Blockbuster thought they had the movie game on lock. They even had an opportunity to buy Netflix. Said, nah, people ain't gonna be watching. Who wants movies in the mail at the time?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Who wants what turned into streaming? Who the hell wants to do that? Right? So when you get too comfortable, you turn into Blockbuster.
Yeah, but it's also like Blockbuster. Apple is, I don't know, bro. Like they the biggest. When you got the
Yeah,
number,
for
when
now.
you've held the number one spot in the stock market for this long, and you haven't even had to innovate, they probably thinking like we get to innovate just a little bit. It's over with.
Right.
They can't even catch up. We're not even innovating, and they can't catch up. So if we get
Right.
to innovating a little bit, what does that mean?
I mean, I definitely get where the confidence would come from, but at the same time, somebody has to be in those rooms saying, "No, we gotta shake the table a little bit." Because
Yeah,
that's
I don't
also
like
why Apple got
either.
popular with the iPhone. They shook the table.
Yeah,
They shook the
that
table.
was
The iPhone
groundbreaking.
changed the game, bro.
Groundbreaking.
So you have to do that at least every 10 years.
What they tried to with the Apple Vision Pro.
And it flopped. Okay, cool. Try again. It's like we live in this culture where people are afraid to fail. And it's only failure if you stop trying. Apple, you got more than enough cash. You got more than enough money, more than enough capital to get back to the lab and try something new. Because when y'all introduced them trash can Max, nah,
Hey,
dead ass,
man.
they look like a trash can for real.
You talking about the
Them
first one?
things would over. Nah. The Mac Pro. A few generations ago, they had a Mac Pro that looked like a trash can, and it would overheat.
Yeah.
Didn't do a whole lot of sales. They went back to the drawing board and made a better, more heat efficient Mac Pro. They didn't just be like, "Oh, well, we done with innovating." We fail when, like, come on, bro. You have to do something groundbreaking every 10 years, especially being a company like Apple.
We'll see. I think that I mean they really don't have any choice, but something has to come out that shakes up the world in 2025 or 2026. If not, I think Apple is in serious danger of not being the darling child of the stock market any longer.
Yeah, we gonna see, especially if we start seeing some new IPOs, and hey, we you never know when IPO season start. You just don't know. You
But
don't know.
I got two more. Netflix, of course, I came out a little earlier. They beat everything. Of course, everybody knows Netflix. They're getting into live sports, the Jake Paul, the football games, the concerts, blah blah blah.
WWE.
Yeah, they had Squid Games come back. Their revenue they beat 10.25 billion, earnings per share $4.27. US and Canada net subs added 4.82 million, which is insane. The estimate was only 1.75 million. They killing it over there. Global net subs added 18.91 million. Operating income up 22.2%. So I mean, it's nothing even much to be said about Netflix. They doing a big one over there. Netflix they're gonna be around for a long time. I don't really see anybody competing with them in the streaming space at the moment. So
Right.
and then finally, Palantir, the big one today. Palantir, their sales 827 million versus estimates of 781 million. Earnings per share came in at 14 cents per share, beating estimates of 11 cents per share. Now you might say that's low, but Palantir is still in a as great as they're doing, as much as they are accelerating, they are still in a growth stage. They're still developing, they're still building. So I don't really pay too much attention to that. The numbers are amazing. Go watch the video I'm putting out tomorrow. You'll see. I pretty much took all of their slides, or all of the ones that I wanted to pick out that I thought would get the point across, and I went over them in detail, breaking them down. So check that out. But the customer account rose 43% year over year. Q1 sales outlook 860 million, and their outlook 3.75 billion dollars full year 2025, and estimates only 3.53 billion. So they crushed. They absolutely crushed their earnings. The guidance is amazing. They went aggressive on the guidance, guiding numbers above estimates, which some companies are scared to do. SoFi, get it together. And when you have a company coming out aggressive with their guidance, that lets you know, hey, we ain't playing, we mean business. We working. We got these contracts coming out. We got these partnerships going. They're killing it in the government space. They just redid. They just did an extension with the Army back in December for $400 million. I just told they had over 100 plus contracts just in Q4 alone. They're killing it. They're doing amazing. But that's pretty much all of the earnings that we've had over the past, I say, week and a half, 2 weeks. That's not all of them, but those are the ones that I paid attention to. That's kind of in my portfolio of companies that I'm watching. But yeah, man, it's busy times out here. It's busy times.
Yeah, all of that sounds good. You definitely want to. Seems like you would hold those for the long term for sure. Seem like some good
Mhm.
positions. So I mean, definitely some things to pay attention to. Those definitely some big movers in their given industries, given sectors. So definitely keep an eye out on that. But moving along, man. Trump also had some more news today related to executive orders, and this one was mainly around a sovereign wealth fund, which I never heard about this concept until today. So it was a bit interesting, but basically, a sovereign wealth fund, or SWF for short, is a fund that holds a lot of state-owned assets, um, mostly foreign assets, but they can hold some domestic ones as well. They're usually funded in, thanks to a surplus that the government may have when it comes to budgeting, things of that nature. Uh, but I got a lot of questions because Trump he really wasn't clear on how the fund would be funded. I mean, obviously, we could make some guesses. I mean, obviously, I think he could use revenues for that. There was talks of monetizing, other government assets. We talked about offline. We talked about the Bitcoin that we already hold. It's like 200 something thousand Bitcoin, which is worth like $15 billion or something like that. And even in some reports related to, trying to talk to the Chinese government about owning 50% of TikTok, which would be interesting because TikTok in its entirety is estimated to be $200 billion. So
Mhm.
half of that is 100 billion. So I don't know, man. Very interesting play here. But what you think about that?
Well, I was just like you. I hadn't really heard about a sovereign wealth fund until today. But when we were looking up, how those things are normally created, it's created with excess funds, which we do not have. We have about
Right.
$36 trillion in debt. So, from the research that I've done, what I've read, he would have to be going about some type of unorthodox way of funding something like this. And like you said, he hasn't really given details. That's been a common trend with a lot of the things that Trump got going on. He's not really giving a lot of details, but I mean, I guess it's just something that we'll have to watch, something that we'll have to monitor and see as more details come out. But I am interested. We talked offline, and you said maybe crypto could be playing a role in this
Yeah,
and
with
things.
a strategic reserve.
Because
Yeah.
we've mentioned a Bitcoin strategic reserve, but now that I'm thinking about it, we did hear them say something, that was not just a Bitcoin strategic reserve. We heard him talk about a digital stockpile.
Right.
So
Like a,
we're
s- a basket of
yeah.
assets.
So we're hearing a lot. There's been a lot of talks, a lot of things mentioned, a lot of vague information coming out, not a lot of details. So I mean, I'm all for it. We looked at it, and I think it said Norway had the biggest one to date, and then China
Hmm.
was the second biggest sovereign wealth fund. So I mean, I think if it's something that China has already established, and they had over $1 billion in theirs, I feel like that's something we should have been had because now
Yeah.
they already got the ups on us in regards to that. But I'm not. We just have to see. We just have to see. I'm interested to find out how they are going to go about that. Like you mentioned, that Bitcoin stockpile that we currently have could play a role in maybe getting that started. So we just have to see.
Right. Yeah, and there's over 90 sovereign wealth funds in the world, and China
90?
has there's over 90. There's 90 sovereign wealth funds in the world, but China has a little over $1 trillion in theirs, and Norway, of course, comes in at like 1.9 trillion, almost $2 trillion,
Sure, for sure.
which is interesting because our Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, says that the goal would be to grow ours to $2 trillion as well. So match that all-time high amongst, some of the most wealthy sovereign wealth funds. But this isn't just apparently, this ain't something that Trump can just sign into action because this is, based off the research, is saying that it would still need congressional approval. So you still got to get voted on in order for this to be a thing. And especially when it comes to Trump, it's very hard to get bipartisan support. And I think this is something that would definitely need bipartisan support to get passed. So I mean, like you said, we're just gonna have to see because
It's,
how my main question is how is it going to get funded?
yeah. And another thing, when it comes to getting things passed through Congress, it sounds good in theory. Yeah, they have the House, they have the Senate, but he's operating with extremely small margins because all the Republicans are not on board with everything that he
Hmm.
has going on, and the margins that he's working with now, as far as getting things passed, are slimmer than they were in his first term. So, whenever you're talking about money, you're never going to have bipartisan support down there in Washington, D.C. I don't care what it
Yeah,
is.
that is true.
About money, they're going to try to add this and that to the bill or this and that. And it's so many voices, whether it's Trump, Elon Musk, whether it's this congressman, this congresswoman, this senator saying this and this. There's a lot of voices, a lot of influences, a lot of people talking, especially anything regarding to money in the United States. So I think that'll be an uphill battle. That'll be an uphill battle for sure if it needs bipartisan support.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also interested in the strategy behind it, like what all would be being considered to be included in this.
Mhm.
How much, and then if you're talking about monetizing other government assets, what other assets do we have outside of the Bitcoin that we mentioned? that we could monetize and put into this fund. Do they really think they're gonna be making a lot of bread off of these tariffs? Because if you expect to fund this through tariffs, you also expect that to be a high revenue source, which is crazy to me because I mean, we saw how countries reacted just off the threat. You got Mexico wanting to, hey man, let us get 30 days. China, hey man, or not China, Canada, hey man, let me get 30 days. So like, I don't know. I don't know what all the numbers are looking like as far as this tariff revenue, but this current administration seems to think that it's going to be a high source of revenue. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah,
But
I don't really know how. I don't really know. I don't. We have to see. We'll have to see because at this point, man, nothing's off the table. Anything can happen. It's really day by day with this
right,
administration and the things that are going on. There's so much news coming out every day. I mean, literally, I just made a video this morning, and tariffs were supposed to get going on Canada and Mexico on Tuesday. I make the video an hour or two later. Now there's a pause. So it's like
right.
it's hard to keep up, man. It's hard to keep up. We could wake up in the morning and they've had another conversation and things have went left. So it's just like you got to play it. You got to play it day to day, man. Got to play it day to day.
Yeah. But moving on, man, we also got something coming from David Sachs, which is the crypto and artificial intelligence star, the expert on the two technologies. He's supposed to be giving some type of speech tomorrow, which will encompass what our strategy will be on how we approach the two technologies. They've mentioned wanting to be a hub for artificial intelligence innovation development. Same thing with cryptocurrency, digital assets. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to really see the United States take a proactive approach, not just to AI, because we've kind of already been doing that, but it'll really be game changing for the crypto side of things because the previous administration was not friendly to crypto. So, to be able to see a night and day difference if the news is indeed good tomorrow, I mean that's going to shake the game right there, and that might the markets might react a certain way. I don't know, but
Well,
I'm looking forward to seeing what his speech.
you know what time he's supposed to speak?
Nah, I'm still looking for it, so if I find it I'll definitely post it out somewhere, but I'm gonna try and catch this one. I gotta catch this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be watching CNBC all day, so I'm sure it'll queue up somewhere.
Right, right,
Uh,
right. Right. But yeah, it'll be interesting because they'll be talking about, strategic reserves, stockpiles, that type of stuff related to crypto. I don't know what they could talk about it in relation to artificial intelligence, but I'm pretty sure it'll always be good because that's a major part of dominance, global dominance. I'm a firm believer that crypto is part of that. Crypto, artificial intelligence, quantum computing are my top three in terms of new age dominance. So if we can position ourselves to, be that hub for all three, man, game
yeah,
changing.
and we need to do it fast too because as
China
we
ain't playing.
yeah, they definitely not with AI. Even though I still personally feel like there's a gap in that race, we're still ahead. Crypto, I can't really say we're ahead until I mean, because there's been a lot of talks, there's been a lot of banter and speculation, but we still have yet to see anything get deployed. So tomorrow will be extremely interesting because if he's bringing out more details or more announcements on, hey, these are the cryptos that are going to be in it, like you said, that could send some stuff to the moon. I know for sure XRP get announced going into a digital stockpile. It's
It's
up.
raps. It's
So
raps. It's
Bitcoin
raps.
Max is gonna be mad, but
Hey, that's a different topic for a different day. I'm actually sick of y'all
they're
maxis,
gonna
bro.
be mad.
I'm sick of y'all maxis, bro, because it's unnecessary.
They
But
said it ain't
I
gonna
ain't
be
gonna get
two.
on it.
It can only be one.
Nah, and if that's the case, then you completely missed the plot or lost the plot on what digital assets and decentralized cryptocurrency was supposed to be in the first place. So
They said y'all done linked
there's
up with
that.
the banks. They said
Hey,
y'all went Fed.
you ain't got to use XRP. That's fine. There's plenty of other ones that still have a use case. that they're still viable. It's not Bitcoin only. I do not agree with the Bitcoin only. I don't agree with it.
Yeah, I think what's good for one is good for all in regards
Absolutely.
to AI and crypto, because the one thing's for at this point, we're trying to build out adoption and infrastructure for both AI
Hmm.
and crypto. So I mean, it really doesn't matter, oh, okay, you think this one is best, you think that one is best. Some, of course, Nvidia is the top dog, but they don't do inferencing better than AMD. This company may be better at this crypto may be better at that. Hey man, it's always more than one player on the chessboard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just pay attention to the main narratives. The sticks and shovels is what I like to call it. You need data. You need fast transmission for payments. You need solid, decentralized artificial intelligence so that we can create better, more robust models. Because I guarantee you, the minute the combination of artificial intelligence and a digital or blockchain solution combined, it's up. It's up. It's super up because I think companies will be training their models hell of a lot faster on much bigger data sets than what they would have been able to if they were to just go through a centralized means. I think you'll have way more innovation in both artificial intelligence and crypto, not just from like an infrastructure standpoint, but also a financial standpoint, meaning I think DeFi will have a huge growth and innovation. Imagine a chat GPT, but basically for triggering financial operations. Or imagine an AI agent that operates and based off these parameters you gave it makes trades for you in the background or whatever the case may be. I see so many implications from not just the financial standpoint but also from the infrastructure side. So I'm definitely excited to see the marrying of artificial intelligence and crypto. So hopefully, tomorrow David Sachs, he leads us in the right direction. I really hope they stick to this momentum and we really see the crypto markets get embraced for the greatness that they've been for a while now.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely need some good sentiment in the markets, man. We need some,
Boy,
and
boy,
that
and that's another thing. Like, if crypto really wasn't about to be a big thing, why is JP Morgan in it? Why is BlackRock in it? Why are, they partnering with certain companies creating decentralized finance products? Like, I'm doing a video over XDeFi. It's a decentralized institutional grade futures trading platform. If institutions wasn't concerned or worried about getting into crypto, why are companies specifically targeting institutional requirements in order to bring on board that level of money management onto centralized systems?
that is
I think that's
that's
what people gotta,
really a question at this point.
bro. That's still a question. That's still a question. You'd be surprised at how often I get questioned on will big money actually utilize, you know, blockchain or
They already
digital
are.
assets in some way. They already are. They already are. JP Morgan has Onyx. It's their blockchain trading desk, all their whole digital asset platform. JP Morgan has Onyx. Several other big money managers have their own blockchain service that they utilize or they interface with institutional grade DeFi products. So I mean it's a big deal, bro. And we need David Sachs to say something tomorrow. And because that'll really open the door. There's several other things that we need some directive on too, especially related to taxing and things of that nature when it comes to digital assets. But we'll get there, one thing at a time.
Yeah, man. Hey, it's been a lot of game giving tonight. It's been a good episode. It's been a
Bro,
great
solid
episode.
episode. It was a lot going on this week, man. Um, individual YouTube channels have been popping too, so definitely appreciating the support over there. But yeah, man, we just gonna have to stick to it, make sure we keep our ears to the streets on what's going on in these developments because like you said earlier, this stuff can and will directly impact regular everyday citizens, and we just got to be positioned right to be able to take it, the most advantage of it. So,
Yeah, man.
man,
And I mean, and I don't really say I don't really like to say we predicted this because I mean, everybody who has been investing for any period of time could have seen a lot of this volatility coming with Trump
you
incoming
would think,
with all of the things he talked about implementing. That's why we were saying in November, in December, when things were hitting all time highs, hey, you know, start putting some capital aside. Be ready. Don't buy these all time highs. There are going to be pullbacks. There are going to be opportunities. There's been multiple opportunities in the stock market. There's been multiple opportunities in crypto to buy some of these top stocks, top cryptos at very, very below, my opinion, fair market view price. And
mhm.
there's been opportunity, but you have to be paying attention. You have to be paying attention and gotta stay locked in. You gotta stay tapped in because we're gonna get you right on both sides.
Boy, always gonna get you right. Just gotta stay tapped in, like you said. With that being said, man, appreciate y'all for watching another episode of Over the Counter Podcast. Man, we'll be back again next week. Be sure
Mhm.
to tune into our After Dark episode. We did miss one last week. We had a family emergency, but it's all good. Things happen. And yeah, like I said, let us know how you felt about today's episode in the comments. Be sure to like, share this with a family member, friend, whoever. Subscribe, of course. And, we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Yeah, let 'em know.